PFT PM Posse have players who are drafted and signed by teams who delay the payment of signing bonuses ever been able to negotiate interest on the delayed bonus payment? We know the owners can and do collect interest on delayed payments. No, that's the problem. That's why players want it now. That's one of the only things that can be negotiated in rookie contracts. When the signing bonus is going to be paid, what it takes to void the remaining guarantees, and will remaining guarantees be subject to offset? Those are the three big issues for rookie contracts. And the signing bonus timing is an issue because you don't get interest. Let's say I'm due to get $5 million, $2.5 million within 15 days, the other $2.5 million June 1 of 2025. The reason teams defer it is so they can keep making the interest on the money. Time value of money. They keep the money for a year. They make money off of that money and you don't. So you're not going to negotiate interest. The negotiation is, I want it now. I want it now. And I'm not going to show up for practice. I'm going to hold out a training camp unless you give it to me now. That's the core of the potential dispute. And remember, as of last week, there were 5 unsigned first-round draft picks. And my guess is that it's still 5 because I don't recall on a pretty slow weekend since Independence Day on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There hasn't been any development along the lines of further rookies signing their draft picks. All right. PFT PM Posse, do you have a favorite classic car? One that you would like to own someday or that has sentimentality from your childhood? An old 70s muscle car, old school 30s, 40s vehicle, or maybe a 1963 split window Chevy Corvette. That is a reference to one of the vehicles in the Father of Mine series, Son of Mine. I might have, because the guy who runs the PFT PM Posse account has been a big supporter of everything we do. He reached out to me. He was looking to get a copy of Son of Mine, the sequel to Father of Mine, which is coming out September 3rd. And I said, you know what? If you promise not to send this to anyone else, I'll send you the manuscript. You can read it. Just do me a favor. Keep an eye open for any possible typos. So he read it twice. He very much enjoyed it. And that's why he's referring to the 1963 Corvette, I believe. The one car that I've wanted to buy that I probably never will, my dad had a 1972 Oldsmobile, and it was kind of a rust orange, a burnt orange, like a little bit deeper than the Texas Kellers with a beige plastic top. That car was awesome. And it had like a 350 in it, and it was just one of those big old gas guzzlers with a long front end and a long back end. The thing about cars from the 70s, though, as awesome as they look on the outside, when you get in, it's like, man, this sucks. Like the seats are all uncomfortable. It's that big, long bench seat, and the gear shifts up on the steering wheel, and the radio's push button AM radio, and the dashboard's that needle that goes all the way up to the other end. And there was a while that, and this was after the national speed limit was dropped to 55. A lot of cars, the highest the speed limit went was 85. The speedometer went was 85. So anyway, I part of me would love to find that old Oldsmobile, but yeah, I'll stick with something newer one of these days. And I'm going to keep saying this until I'm too old to physically crawl into it. But one of these days, I'm going to break down and find a Ferrari that is fairly affordable. One of these days. And part of the problem is, with all the hills here in West Virginia, probably not a practical thing to take up and down and over bumps and scrape the bottom here and scrape the bottom there. But that's in the hopper. CJ Newman, are you going to try the EA college football game when it comes out? Mutt, that's the Madden Ultimate Team, sucks this time of year when everyone is 99 overall. I will try the college game when it comes out. I think it's coming out this week, next week, end of this week, something like that. I like playing Ultimate Team now. I like the fact that the teams are all, for anyone who's been playing it all year long, in the high 90s. My team's currently a 98. I've yet to get to a 99, but I have like 20 guys that are 99 or higher. And yeah, everybody else is good too. It makes for a great challenge. Everybody's similar. Your teams are all on the same footing, and you play your games and you see what happens. So I don't mind it. The thing that drives me crazy is It's every year, it's lather, rinse, repeat. The new one comes out, you get a team that's a 59, you spend the whole year working through, and I will never, sorry, EA, I will never spend a penny beyond what it costs to buy the game. It's the different challenges, and you get points and you get coins and you build your team that way. That's how I do it. That's part of the fun. So you spend months and months and months getting the team better and better and better and better. You finally get to the point where it's great. You get to enjoy it for a month, and then it's time to get new Madden and start all over again. I've had a lot of tweets here today encouraging me to go ahead and do the podcast under the full and complete influence of Novocaine. I wouldn't have been able to talk. It would have been horrible. This entire side of my face was locked up, and I couldn't. It was like a weird feeling. I'd had another filling that was busted, or I broke a tooth last year and didn't realize it, but it wasn't nearly as bad when they fixed that as when they did this. This took me back to the first time I ever had a cavity. How old am I? 59? What would it have been? Almost 50 years ago. Anyway, when do you get your teeth? How old are you when you get your teeth? Your real teeth. That's, you're old when you can't remember when it was that your teeth fell out, your baby teeth came out, and the new teeth came in. So anyway, I was feeling as numb as I have in a very long time today. There are questions about NFL media and also the cancellation of the Around the NFL podcast. And look, I don't know what else we would call it other than the Around the NFL podcast was canceled. When you have a podcast that was extremely popular, where there were 3 hosts and 2 of them are gone, and the new show is going to be named something different. It's going to be 5 days a week instead of 3 days a week. And it's going to be one of the 3 hosts, our former colleague, Greg Rosenthal, plus a revolving door of guests. The old show's gone. I don't know what else to say. Like, if Larry and Curly left the Three Stooges and they went forward with the Mo Howard and Friends show, you would say that the Three Stooges got canceled. The Three Stooges is gone. And I've got people asking for insights. I know some things, and I've heard some things, and a lot of people speculate that incident from March where Woody Johnson, Robert Saleh, I think Colleen Wolfe was on the Around the NFL podcast, and she kind of foolishly blurted out that she had heard from a good source that there was an awkward conversation between the two. I think it's fair to say that got them on radar screens that maybe they weren't on before, which might have contributed to the falling of the dominoes that got to this point. But 2 of the hosts left the company completely, and they've been there a long time. And Greg Rosenthal stays. And it's just the latest example of what I believe is mismanagement of NFL media by the NFL. And what a shock. The NFL is not a media company. I mean, the potential for this kind of stuff has been lurking for 20 years. You can either license NFL.com and NFL Network to a real media company, or you can try to run it yourself and eventually run it into the ground, which is what the NFL is currently doing. At about the time when apparently, inevitably, eventually, ESPN is going to just take the thing over. That has been on the brink of being done for a long time. I would suspect to get it done before football season, but the NFL has a habit of always wanting a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. Just as the train is pulling into the station, I want a little bit more. And that slows the whole process down. So as it relates to NFL Network, I've said this before and I'll say it again. They should just shut the whole thing down, and they should take that package of games that is televised mainly on Sunday mornings, the games from Europe, just sell that. They'll make a hell of a lot more money selling that than whatever profit they're making off of NFL media. And it's just, for all the respect and admiration that that Big Shield gets for its football product, it's really kind of hurt itself with how it's mishandled NFL media in recent months. It looks like a clumsy, clunky operation. It makes you wonder who's in charge. and why they're doing what they're doing and whether or not they really give a shit about the people. I think that's fair to say. It's fair to ask that question. Calm down, 345. I'm not saying it's absolutely true, but the way these decisions have been made, it's fair to ask, do they care about the people? Because when you take a popular morning show and you uproot it from New York and send it to LA, and I get the feeling that the people on the show didn't have much more notice than the rest of us did that it was happening, that's not exactly the best way to treat people. When you lay people off who were effective and satisfactory contributors to the cause, that creates the impression that it's all about money. It's not about the people. Football is family, and we know that football is business, but they say football is family because it's good for business to say football is family. All right. Let's see. Paul Zulak. This is an interesting question. Would there be any potential reimbursement for NFL fans who visited commercial establishments with NFL Sunday Ticket and spent their own funds to watch an out-of-market game due to the NFL's high cost of the Sunday Ticket package? Now that you're not part of the class. You're not part of the class, but yeah, to the extent that they were trying to recoup the money that they were having to pay because they were getting their arm twisted by DirecTV and they pass it along to the consumer, yeah, you're kind of screwed there, but you're not represented in this class. The only people represented in this class are the commercial establishments that had it and were overcharged for it, and the residential consumers who were deliberately gouged. So they'd either pay a hell of a lot for it or they wouldn't buy it at all and just watch whatever was available on CBS or Fox. And that's the group. I made this point last week. The people that didn't buy it aren't represented in this either. They were harmed by this because they could have had Sunday Ticket for the last 30 years, but they decided, as much as I'd like to watch the Packers in Pittsburgh, I'm not paying that money. I'm not going to go out and get a DirecTV hookup. I'm not going to do all this stuff. No, I'm just not doing it. They're not part of this either. Okay. Rory Fitzgerald, in terms of the new kickoff rule, do you think we'll see close to 100% of teams attempting it in preseason games, or do you think some teams may have already canned the idea and try to kick through the end zone and use preseason to practice defending drives starting at the 30? I think we'll see teams experiment with the new kickoff rule during preseason. I think that's just part of the data that will drive the decision they make when the time comes to make a decision in the first game that counts. I mean, there may be a concern that we're not going to be able to cover this, and you go out there and you start doing it. It's like, hey, you know what? We're better at this than we thought, or we're worse at this than we thought. We're just confirming that we should not be kicking off into this new formation. We should just kick out of the end zone and concede the 30. So I absolutely believe that the time that is being devoted to special teams in the preseason should and will include experimenting with the kickoff. You could make the argument that if you've already decided not to do it, why bother? But I think that before you make the final decision before week one, you want to see how your team does and doesn't execute this new kickoff formation. All right, let's see what else we have here. I think we're getting through. There's a lot of people reacting to, with some very funny GIFs and comments, the Dr. Tim Watley, Jerry Seinfeld in the dental chair GIF. Brian A., be honest. I'll always be honest. What time or what team? I honestly screwed that up. What team has the best chance to go top 8 worst finish last year to a playoff team this year? I mean, I have to say the Falcons, because they had the 8th overall pick, so that put them in the top 8 worst teams, and they're in the division where, but for the fact that they screwed everything up by drafting Michael Penix with that selection, I mean, I think they've got an opportunity to take that division, although don't sleep on the Bucs. Too many are sleeping on the Bucs, and it's allowing the Bucs to have righteous indignation about the extent to which, yet again, nobody believes in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, you've got the guys who manufacture that idea. Nobody believes in us, and we're like, okay, sure. And then there's the teams that can say nobody believes in us and mean it. And the Bucs are one of the teams. We're in the playoffs last year, Final 8 last year, and nobody believes in the Bucs. I do. They'd probably prefer that I didn't. They don't want people to believe in them. I've said this over and over again. When teams aren't believed in, you avoid your players thinking too much of themselves, and you give them a legitimate thing to get pissed off about so they can go out and be better than people think they are. Sean Alvashar, in regard to Sunday Ticket, what I do not understand is that I'm still watching a Fox or CBS broadcast. Why would CBS or Fox care if I'm watching it over the air or through YouTube Sunday Ticket? That's already a given that they do care, because those numbers, the people who are watching Sunday Ticket, don't get included in the CBS and Fox ratings. Those all roll up from the affiliates. So they want you watching your local affiliate, the CBS or Fox game on your local affiliate. And apparently Sean McManus, the CBS sports president who retired earlier this year, he testified CBS used to get a fee for allowing Sunday Ticket to use all of its games, and it got to a point where they don't even get the fee anymore. CBS and Fox want the local affiliates to have maximum audience. That rolls up in the national rating. And the more that the local audience is eroded by fans being able to watch Packers games in Pittsburgh or Steelers games in Chicago or Bears games in Seattle, the more that takes away from the local audience for all those affiliates, the more that takes away the final numbers that get reported. And those numbers have great value as it relates to negotiating with your affiliates and also negotiating with advertisers for the games. Brady Romero 9, you posted about a Bountygate scandal related to the Bucks this morning. You said, we'll see if the league looks into it. If they do, what can the league do if they find wrongdoing 12 years after the fact? Well, if they find wrongdoing, it's wrongdoing. The Buccaneers still exist as a going concern. If they find the Buccaneers violated the rules, deliberately instructed players to injure members of the Falcons 12 years ago, there's no statute of limitations on that. I doubt that the NFL is going to want to do it. See, typically when something like this happens, the NFL is going to want to look the other way. When the NFL has an agenda that is advanced by making an example out of someone, because that's what happened with the Saints case. They had just been in the early stages of the process of being sued by all former players in the class action for failure to protect, failure to warn, failure to explain the risks of head trauma. So this gave the NFL a way to say, we're serious about health and safety. Look, we've destroyed the Saints for this bounty scandal, even though Greg Williams, the guy who was at the heart of it, stories started to come out that he was using that same thing everywhere else he'd been. The NFL did not explore that rabbit hole. The NFL backed up a cement truck, filled that hole, plugged it tight, and moved on. Because all they needed was to be able to go after the Saints and to prove that they did it and were taking it seriously. See, if you go too far, that's when people start saying, man, this entire operation is corrupt. Maybe we should take a closer look at maybe we should peel back Big Shield and see what is underneath that red, white, and blue facade. That's always the tension. Generally speaking, the NFL doesn't want to air out its dirty laundry publicly, because if you air out enough of it, somebody's going to say, man, that house has a shitload of dirty laundry. Maybe we should look into why their laundry is so dirty. But if you have an agenda that you're trying to push, you selectively enforce rules once every 2 or 3 years. So no one ever says, man, this is a potentially inherently corrupt organization. They just say, wow, they're effective. They're enforcing their rules. Bountygate and Deflategate, and the Patriots did this and the Patriots did that. And pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. Yeah, they were tampering, but we don't need anyone to know how rampant tampering is. Let's not make this too big of a deal. I think that's part of the psychology that goes into it. All right, let's answer a couple more here. RB Roughnecks, given the ruling against the NFL on the Sunday Ticket case, do you think the NFL will offer per team packages as a way to show during their appeal process that they aren't in violation of the ruling, specifically antitrust violations? I think this is apples and oranges, because I think part of it is if they suddenly, during the appeal process, change the way they're doing things, that may make a judge more inclined to say they know they were wrong. There's two different issues here. There's the ongoing legal exposure from 2023, 2024, 2025, maybe 2026 by the time this is all said and done. Are you going to continue to create new class actions against yourself because you keep doing it the way you've already done it, even though a jury's already found that it violates the antitrust laws? Or are you going to change your ways and do things the right way, respect your consumers, and reduce the price of Sunday Ticket? Or more accurately, let the Sunday Ticket provider decide what they want to pay without any sort of pressure or direction or control by the league. That's really the issue here. And that's why I'm so disappointed by the lack of national attention to this, because number one, it exposes me as the one guy that the NFL can say, man, that guy's a problem. We need to shut him up. They've screwed the consumers for 30 years, with or without antitrust liability. They decided, okay, we have this product and we're going to make it available, but we might hurt the ratings for our Sunday afternoon providers. So how do we strike this balance? Not how do we make this new technology easy to use and unlock a universe of choices, affordable choices for the fans. No, we got to price it high enough so that we don't undermine the ratings, the local affiliates who want people to watch the game that they're being forced to watch, because without buying Sunday ticket, it's either watch that game or watch no football at all. So that's really the bottom line here. And I think as we take a closer look at the Sunday ticket trial, and there's a lot of reporting still to be done if anybody's even going to bother to do it. Think about where DirecTV was. Think about what a pain in the ass it was for anybody that got DirecTV in the 90s. It was a pain in the ass. I had to cut down a freaking tree when we moved from one house to the other so that I could get the proper view of the satellite so I could watch the games. I mean, you had to get it. It had to be in the right spot. You had to pay the money for it, and you had to subscribe. There were deals that were available, but you had to subscribe. So I had cable. I was like Michael Scott. I have satellite and cable as a backup. I was paying for a satellite hookup I didn't need, but that was the only way to get Sunday tickets. So think about how hard the NFL made it. And you ask yourself, why are they making it so hard? Are they making it hard and expensive so more people won't do it? Couldn't Sunday ticket just have been added on to everyone's existing cable package at the time, like it is on YouTube TV now? Or like it was on DirecTV. You had all your channels that you already got, and then you got all these other channels. So I got my cable hookup, and I got this tier, I got that tier, I got the Sunday ticket tier on my cable hookup. A lot more people might have done it if they didn't have to go out and figure out where they're going to put Sunday ticket, get it installed, cut down a tree if they have to, and whatever the case may be. All right, should probably wrap this up soon. This is an interesting one from Tad Funderman. I doubt the NFL would ever sign up for it, but what about making the franchise tag a 2-year deal instead of just one? Price would be the same if they did back-to-back tags, would make it less of an option that teams would use, but if they did, it guarantees more money for the player. So basically what you're saying is we're going to offer you the tag, and next year at a 20% raise, because that's how the tag works, you're fully guaranteed both years at signing. Number one, even with 18 and maybe 19 and maybe 20 games coming for the NFL, I still don't think when it's time to negotiate with the union, the league is ever going to do anything that changes the franchise tag. That is the one way that they can keep the best of the best players from hitting the market and completely exploding the curve and dragging other lesser players along with them. So even this 2-year thing, I don't like it, because if I'm the player, I still want to have the ability to go 1 year at a time. Now, the problem is if they really like you and they're willing to make the commitment, they're just going to tag you now, they're going to tag you later. But anyway, it's a nice idea, but I just don't believe the NFL is going to ever agree to make any changes to the franchise tag within the confines of collective bargaining. All right, let's see what else we have. Baylock. Have you heard from or talked to Chris? Yeah, Chris and I have been texting from time to time. It's not like we ignore each other. Now, he's got things he's doing, I've got things I'm doing, but yeah, we keep in touch. We're friends. We keep in touch like friends do. And, maybe we need a break from each other too after, 2 hours a day, 4 days a week, and being in the viewing room together all day long for 20 Sundays of the season. So, he probably could use a break from me, and I probably could use a break from him. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.